team. Cowboys. And who I'm rolling with.
Welcome to another episode of Classic Dallas Cowboys Talk. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So, Chuck Howley. Okay. One of the best athletes on the Cowboys. The only player in NFL history to be named MVP of the Super Bowl and was on the losing team. Okay, that was Super Bowl V when we lost that crazy game to the Colts. Again, Dwayne Thomas fumbled at the goal line, was probably one of the biggest plays in that game, despite the fact that he did not fumble. Okay, the referees say he fumbled, so I guess he fumbled, even though he didn't. Okay, anyway, but yeah, Chuck Howley was named MVP of that game on the losing team, just like Jerry West. The only time in NBA Finals history where Jerry West was named MVP of the series from the losing team. Okay, and so but this footage shows Chuck Howley's career and Chuck Howley's career in review. Now this was shot in 2009. Okay, this footage was shot in 2009. So, and Chuck Howley is in the Hall of Fame now. But again, this footage was shot in 2009. So, at the end of his footage, you're going to hear a narrator say, yet he remains out of the Hall of Fame. So, again, this footage was shot in 2009, okay? So, all right.
Linebacker Chuck Howley was a first-round draft pick by Chicago in 1958. After injuring his knee, the Bears traded Howley's rights to Dallas, where he became a force in the Doomsday defense.
Chuck Howley was probably one of, if not the best athlete on the Cowboy team. I mean, he lettered in 5 sports in college, including gymnastics. He was one of those guys, they just had a nose for the ball. They just knew where the ball was going for some uncanny reason. Very fast guy, very physical, very strong, very agile.
Howley's best performances came on the biggest stage. In the Cowboys' first ever Super Bowl appearance, Howley led the Dallas defense with a pair of interceptions. The Doomsday effort wasn't enough, as the Cowboys lost 16-13. Despite losing, Howley was named the game's MVP. He remains the only player in Super Bowl history to win the award on the losing team.
I think it was disheartening, especially on my part, being MVP of that particular ball game. We'd rather had the victory. I would rather had the victory, but I guess if there's any satisfaction out of it, I was able to, move out with the MVP award.
A year later in Super Bowl VI, Howley was sensational once again, helping the Cowboys to their first world title.
And Greasy back to throw again. There's a pass intercepted by
Chuck had a great game. He had a kind of game that if they didn't choose Roger, they could have easily chosen Chuck Howley to be MVP again. Second time taking a year in a row.
I think everybody respected Chuck for what he did on the field. And Chuck was a great guy.
With 5 straight All-Pro seasons, Howley was one of the most decorated linebackers of his era. Yet he remains out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So he started his career with the Chicago Bears, okay, in 1958, and he played to 1973. Man, that's a lot of years, especially in pro football back in that day, okay. Yeah, but spent the first 3 years of his career with the Bears, injured his knee, And the Bears, thank you, Chicago Bears. Thank you, Chicago Bears, for trading him to Dallas, okay? Because along with him, Leroy Jordan, Bob Lilly, Cornell Green, Mel Renfro, they became doomsday. Doomsday 1, yeah. Doomsday 1 was the 60s, Doomsday 2 was the 70s, and Doomsday 3 was the 90s, okay? So, yeah. So, Chuck Howley and Bob Lilly were there at the beginning. So, the origin of Doomsday was with Bob Lilly and Chuck Howley, who both arrived in 1961. Okay, so yeah. Now, also Danny White. Okay, Danny White's once made a statement that there were going to be people who were never on his side. He had no problem with that. Okay. And I saw somewhere where people say Don Meredith was probably the most hated quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. And I would say, nah. I don't think he's the most hated quarterback. I think Tony Romo. When he played, was the most hated quarterback here in Dallas. Okay, I truly believe. Yeah, I believe he's more hated than Dak Prescott. Okay, I believe he's more hated than Dak Prescott, who half the fan base hates. Okay, but again, we hated Don Meredith. We hated Danny White. We hated Troy Aikman at the end of his career. We hated Tony Romo, and we hate Dak Prescott. See, that's the thing about this fan base. We hate quarterbacks. We hate quarterbacks. Okay. The only quarterback we never hated was Staubach and Troy Aikman for the majority of his career. Okay. For the majority of his career. Okay. Because I remember he got booed on opening day versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. He got booed on the opening day. And we all hated Aikman at the end of his career. Nonetheless, back to Danny White. Okay. So he became starter in 1980. And I felt there were some people who felt that Staubach, including Staubach himself, felt that Danny White was ready to completely take over the team. Okay. And he did a pretty good job, okay? He did a pretty good job. He led the Cowboys back into the playoffs. And they were playing the Atlanta Falcons, okay, in the wild card game. And Danny White didn't have a good first half, okay? I remember we had a cornerback on defense by the last name of Mitchell, okay? He wore number 34. His last name was Mitchell. And he was getting burned the entire first half, okay? He was getting burned the entire first half by the Falcons receivers. And Danny White didn't perform much better in the first half. And even into the second half, okay? But, fate intervened, I guess you could say, and Danny White led them on a comeback Here it is.
Back in the playoffs. A cold reception awaited them in Atlanta.
But one thing I remember about that game was it was as cold as I think I'd ever been.
It was a very upbeat type atmosphere, a lot of hoopla going on, a lot of press, a lot of media coverage and all that kind of stuff. So we knew we were going into a very difficult situation.
But with longtime backup Danny White now the starter, no one expected him to be the hero.
My feeling going into the year was, hey, just focus on being the quarterback and don't worry about anybody else, and everything will be fine. And that's really what ended up happening.
Instead, White had a terrible first half. Those doubting he could fill Roger Staubach's shoes had cause to worry.
There's no question that there were a lot of people that would never buy into the fact that somebody else could lead the Dallas Cowboys besides Roger Staubach. And that's a tribute to Roger.
We knew he was prepared, and I think that was a big reason why Roger decided to retire. So it's not a situation where he had to carry the team or the offense on his shoulders. It was a situation where he just had to fit in and drive the engine, or turn the engine on and drive the car.
Despite the second half faring little better, White was confident he could lead the Cowboys back from a 14-point deficit.
I knew there were going to be some that would never be on my side, no matter what I did. I had no problem with that.
With 3:38 left in the third quarter, White got the Cowboys rolling. An 85-yard drive ended with Robert Newhouse's 1-yard touchdown run. After a Falcons field goal, White struck again.
And there was nothing out there but just time. It seemed like it was forever.
The deficit now only 4. Drew Pearson smelled a comeback.
Well, I don't remember what plays that were actually called, but I do remember the coming together of the team, and we really felt now we had a chance to win this game.
With little time left, White and the Dallas offense stood 70 yards away from the lead. But White made more than a few say, Roger who, as he led the Cowboys down the field to victory.
I don't know how you explain certain guys just being in the right place at the right time, but this was another one of those times. It was 88.
When I look back, Danny had already released the ball, and it wasn't in his hands, and I had to find it.
Pearson had yet another miraculous touchdown catch in the playoffs. And White, at long last, was the hero.
It all gets overlooked too often, in the game of football. And there were a million little things that had to go just right for that whole sequence to take place the way that it did.
Yeah. So that was the first great comeback that Danny White had in his NFL career. The first post-Staubach comeback that Danny White had. It was cold. It was windy. But apparently Staubach was in the broadcast booth during the game, and he saw with his own eyes. So I know Roger Staubach had to feel some kind of way about that comeback. Okay. Yeah, so Roger Staubach had to feel some kind of way, and led the Cowboys to the NFC Championship game. It should have been Cowboys and Raiders in the Super Bowl that year. Okay. It should have been Cowboys and Raiders in 1980, Cowboys and Bengals in 1981, and Cowboys and Dolphins in 1982, okay? It should have been like that, okay? It should have been like that. And even though I wasn't born in 1980, 81, or 82, I've seen the footage, and I've seen the footage. I've seen the footage of those games, okay? And it just makes you kind of wonder. Just makes you kind of wonder if the Cowboys went to 3 straight Super Bowls in the 1980, 81, and 82. Okay, but there are some people who say even if Danny White led them to 3 straight Super Bowl victories, they say, you know what? That's not going to erase. He's not going to topple star all back in terms of legacy. Okay. Yeah. So So there are some people who feel that Danny White would never be able to overshadow Star Hallback, and you know what? They were right. They were right. They were right. Okay, they were right. But I just think that I just think that Danny White just ran into some things that he had no control over. Like he led the Cowboys down for the go-ahead touchdown in the 81 championship game. Okay, and defense just couldn't get it done. Okay, defense just couldn't get it done. And I remember Danny White saying, "No, this is I saw this on NFL Films, Greatest Games." Danny White said, "I remember the feeling on the sideline was frustration, just pure building, mounting frustration." And Danny White was like, it almost got to the point of panic. It was like, okay, enough is enough. Let's stop these guys and let's go to the Super Bowl. Man, what could have been? What could have been? But I guess it just wasn't meant to be, right? Wasn't meant to be. All right. So CJ Goodwin. Okay. I believe he was supposed to be back this year with us, but he recently retired just a few hours ago. So congratulations to CJ Goodwin. Probably one of the more forgotten special teams players on the Cowboys. He was probably forgotten because he kept signing one year contracts. He kept signing 1-year contracts. Okay, but he was a pretty good special teams player for us. And CJ, I hope you enjoy retirement and you retired the right way as a Dallas Cowboy. Okay. Training camp is almost here. Training camp is almost here, and it is quietly sneaking up on us, okay? It is quietly sneaking up on us. I think this NFL offseason has been fast, okay? Yeah, I think this NFL offseason has been fast. And teams just had 3-day mini camps, and now we just got to get through this boredom of a couple of weeks, okay? Just got to get through this boring couple of weeks until late July, and then the rookies will report first, and then the veterans will report, okay? So training camp for some teams starts, well, I know for the rookies it starts early, okay, because the rookies always report first, okay? Then the veterans report second. And so training camp is almost here. I can't wait to see what Caleb Downs. I can't wait to see Caleb Downs matching up against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens in practice. I'm eager to see Overshown back for a full season and 100% healthy. Man, football season is percolating, and I can't wait. We can't wait. All right, that's it, and that's all for Classic Cowboys Talk. I am out of here. May God bless you all. Peace.
Who?
Cowboys.
What's my blue and gray team?
Cowboys.
And who I'm rolling with, huh?
My Cowboys.
Steelers better better get it right. Giants better get it right. Who?
Cowboys.
What's my blue and gray team?
Cowboys.
And who I'm rolling with, huh?
My Cowboys.
Eagles better get it right. Skins better get it right.